Every morning, like clockwork, the quiet streets of Elmridge came to life with the click of tiny shoes against concrete. The sound was almost inaudible compared to the barking of dogs in distant yards or the rumble of delivery trucks, but those who were up early enough knew what to look for. At precisely 7 a.m., a little girl in a pink jacket would appear at the corner of Oak and Main. She was no more than 5 years old, but what made people stop and stare wasn't her age, it was the 5 enormous German shepherds flanking her like royal guards. They walked in perfect formation, obedient and focused. None of them tugged their leashes. None of them barked. It was as if they had been trained for something much greater than walking down a sidewalk. And yet, here they were, following the lead of a little girl who never said a word. For weeks, the townspeople watched. Some out of curiosity. Others with concern. Who was she? Where were her parents? Why didn't anyone walk with her? At first, they thought it was a fluke, maybe a one-time stroll with the family dogs. But when she returned the next day, and the day after that, and continued for weeks without fail, the whispers began. The owner of the bakery, who usually kept to herself, started offering pastries to children just to get them to linger longer and see her pass by. The mailman, always on time, adjusted his route just to catch a glimpse. People speculated perhaps she was a child prodigy from a dog training academy. Maybe her parents were watching from a distance. Or maybe she was in danger and didn't know how to ask for help. But no one ever found a good time or reason to ask. There was something about her that made people hesitate, not because she was threatening, but because she felt sacred. Untouchable. Mysterious. It wasn't just the silence. It was the stillness around her. Loud noises, backfiring cars, barking dogs, shouting teenagers never made her flinch. She didn't turn her head. She didn't look confused. She simply kept walking, her gaze fixed forward, the dogs keeping pace beside her. It was then people began to realize she wasn't ignoring them. She couldn't hear them. It became clear that the little girl was deaf. And the dogs, they were not just pets, they were her ears, her guardians, her protectors in a world she experienced differently from everyone else. But the mystery didn't end there. One chilly morning, a retired nurse named Mrs. Langley, a gentle woman who had lost her grandson in a car accident 2 years earlier, decided to follow the girl. Not out of suspicion, but because her instincts told her something was deeply wrong, or deeply special. She waited until the girl turned the corner, then trailed from a distance. She watched as the girl passed the flower shop, then the old gas station, and finally made her way down a forgotten lane that led toward the edge of town. It was a place most people had forgotten, the woods beyond the old veterinary training center, closed down after a fire nearly a decade ago. The building was half collapsed, surrounded by weeds and silence. The girl slipped through a rusted gate, and the dogs followed. Mrs. Langley's heart pounded as she hesitated. Then she entered too. Inside the dilapidated building, past broken windows and overgrown vines, Mrs. Langley discovered something that made her knees go weak. One room, a former surgical space, had been cleaned and transformed. In the middle of the room, under a pile of blankets and hooked to a makeshift four-stand, lay a frail young boy. Pale. Weak. Barely breathing. The girl sat beside him on a flattened pillow, gently stroking his hair. One of the dogs carried a water bottle in his mouth. Another nudged a medicine bottle closer. The largest sat at the door, watchful. Mrs. Langley realized in that moment what no one had dared imagine: the girl was hiding her sick brother. And the dogs were helping her keep him alive. When Mrs. Langley stepped inside, the girl didn't scream. She didn't run. She looked up, startled, but then brought her finger to her lips in a silent plea. "Please don't tell. Please don't take him." Mrs. Langley stood frozen, the weight of understanding settling into her chest. This child wasn't walking her dogs. She was surviving. She was protecting. She was alone in the world, and these animals were her only shield. That night, Mrs. Langley couldn't sleep. Her heart ached, torn between heartbreak and admiration. By dawn, she returned not with authorities, but with a soft blanket, clean socks, and a bag full of medical supplies. She sat with the girl in silence. The girl accepted the gifts but spoke no words. She didn't need to. Her eyes said everything. Over the next week, the truth came out slowly, piece by piece. Ember, that was her name, had lost both parents in a house fire nearly a year ago. Her brother Liam had a rare immune disorder that made hospitalization dangerous and complicated. After the fire, fearing separation in foster care and uncertain of who to trust, Ember ran. She knew only one safe place, the abandoned veterinary training center where her mother had once worked as a vet nurse. She brought her brother there, scavenged supplies from donation boxes, and learned how to administer basic care using memories and instinct. The dogs, once used in canine medical simulations, remembered Ember. They remembered her scent, her voice, her gentle hands. They chose to stay. They chose to protect. They became her family, her bridge to a world she could not hear. The girl had learned to live without sound. She felt vibrations. She read lips when she could. But mostly, she communicated through the dogs. They had created a silent language all their own, a system of glances, movements, touches, and signs. She had survived for nearly a year this way. And no one had known. Until now. The town didn't react with fear or judgment. For once, a community responded the way humanity is meant to. Volunteers poured in. A carpenter offered to rebuild the room into a safe space. An electrician donated solar panels. The town vet delivered oxygen tanks, saline bags, and food. A sign language interpreter began teaching Ember more advanced ways to communicate. Liam began to recover with real medical care, and the town began to heal a part of itself it never knew was broken. The abandoned clinic slowly transformed into something sacred, a quiet haven filled with love, healing, and memory. 3 months later, during the town's spring festival, Ember stood on a wooden stage in the town square. Her pink jacket still zipped to the top. Her curls tied back with a ribbon. Beside her stood Liam, now strong enough to walk with her, and surrounding them, her 5 loyal German shepherds. An interpreter stood beside her as she signed slowly and clearly, pausing between phrases to make sure everyone understood. These dogs saved my brother. And they saved me. They were my voice. They were my safety. They gave me hope when I had none. I love them more than words can say. The town stood in complete silence. No applause. No whispers. Just reverence. Until one of the dogs let out a gentle bark, and the crowd laughed through their tears. Applause rose like thunder. That day, Ember wasn't a mystery anymore. She wasn't just the little girl who walked with dogs. She was a symbol of loyalty, of courage, of love that needs no sound to be heard. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in the power of love and loyalty, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Stories like this deserve to be told, because sometimes, the most extraordinary heroes are the quietest ones. And if you believe that animals can be more than companions, if you believe they can be family, lifelines, and angels, please leave a comment and let us know. Special request, before you go, comment with the words "loyalty never leaves" to show that you stand with Ember, Liam, and the animals who never let go.